Welcome back to the Finding Purpose podcast. Today, I'm lucky to have my best friend, Benjamin LeRose, Forkin Delicious, the El Jefe, on the podcast. And it's funny because I've been trying to get Ben on this podcast for I don't even know how long. Finally got you on. And this is going to be a great episode. You know, like last week I was able to have Wanda. She's like a great personal trainer. She was talking about her transformative journey with her family. And, you know, those of you who got to really listen to that episode, I really hope that you engaged, reached out to Wanda, and obviously left a review so that we can further build this community. And today it's a nice segue into someone who's also doing something super powerful with a platform that he has in the culinary space. So Ben, I'm super, grateful for you coming on, but not really, because I see you all the time and this is long overdue. So I'm a little bit angry that it took this long.
About a year, yeah.
Yeah, it's taken quite a while. And there's so much about your story that I know that a lot of people don't know. And I think it's really important to highlight that because, now that you're building out Forkin Delicious and you're doing something that you've been frankly putting off for quite a while. I'm super proud to be a part of it, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here too.
Thanks, man. So I really just want to jump right into it, man. Like talk about your early days, where you grew up, what it was like growing up. And I find that a lot of the times in my conversations with people, those early days really set the tone as to the direction the rest of their story goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up in Greenwich, started my early days there. I was actually born in London. Most people actually don't know that about me. But growing up, I mean, normal family, Greenwich family, great parents. Brother and sister twins. So that was a bit fun. Shout out to my brother and sister. But everything kind of changed once I started going to middle school, and I had to change schools from 6th grade going into 7th grade. I ended up going to Stanford schools again, and that's kind of where I found, the different kind of vibe almost. A lot changed within those couple of years. I started caddying because I wanted to get my first laptop, so my dad told me I had to get a job, like rightfully so. I got to buy things. And from there, I mean, I learned a lot from just being around those older gentlemen when I was caddying. A lot of my stories, so I don't have to go into details on that. But
you do.
I do.
Because my audience does not know. I do.
Okay, well,
and I think it's a fascinating story.
That's actually okay. So, I mean, that's kind of where I learned how to start making money and learn the fast money, and from there, it kind of turned into my degenerate years. I started smoking weed with them when I was younger and learning how to essentially sell drugs through that platform. And it was almost unnoticed because I was so young at the time, not many people knew. I mean, I was playing two sides of the fence at the same time most of my life. You know, I had one face for one group and one face for another. So it was easy for me to hide what I was doing during those times because I became basically a chameleon into my surroundings at an early age.
Yeah.
And you can't really play it off forever. Your parents eventually know that you smoke weed at some point. They just pretend that that's not the case. Let's be real. I mean, I tried to pretend I was tired a lot. I mean, how many years can you be tired until you're actually an adult when you're really tired?
I use that excuse too.
I still use it to this day, and I'm sober.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I started caddying with those guys. Kind of touched on that, and I played baseball my whole life, and that was a big part of my life until I had one big tragic event happen that kind of threw me. I was young. I was like 14, 15 years old, and we don't talk about it much, but and it's not really a platform type thing for me to say, but it was one of those things that kind of shifted my emotions. I started feeling very cold to the world. It's one of those things that any 14-year-old shouldn't have to see. I mean, 14, 15-year-old, I think it was just turned 15. And that numbed me to a lot of things. And that's when I started finding out about actual drugs. I started using heavily. I didn't really understand the concept of emotions.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is growing up, you kind of, you get some people that let you talk about your feelings and you get some people who don't. And,
just keep it about 6 inches away.
Okay. Move a little closer.
There you go.
You get people who let you talk about your emotions and kind of make you confide in them. And those are the people I normally shut out more, like therapists. Like through my whole life, people try to get me to go to therapy. But I was diagnosed bipolar, ADHD, all this. But realistically, I don't think I was any of those things because growing up, now that I'm going to therapy, they don't see that.
Yeah.
ADHD, yeah, definitely. Let's be real. I'm a chef. We got to be some kind of messed up in the head for that. But you know, I kind of lost where I was going.
It's all right because I have a couple questions. You know, like you at a young age, you learned how to make money, and it was because you did come from a good family who taught you the value of hard work, and you earn what you get, and I think that's super important. But it also exposed you to an adult world as a child.
Mhm.
You know, being in that space and like learning all these new things that other people were doing and being exposed at an early age, set the stage for a lot of things that happened to you, right? And talk about the beneficial side of that, though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the beneficial side is that I may have had to grow up quick, but I learned a lot of lessons early on in life that most people don't learn in their whole life. I learned how to, at this point, definitely learned how to pick the right people, be around the right people, be around those influential people in your lives. You gravitate towards what you think you deserve. That's the thing I've learned. One of the biggest things in my life that I've learned, and to me, that's hugely beneficial, especially in the life that I'm in now.
Yeah.
Especially being in recovery. Being in recovery, if you start gravitating towards the people that you used to be like, you're not going to last.
Yeah.
You're going to throw yourself right back out of the boat. And now being where I'm at working a 12-step program, I'm around a lot of recovery-based people, but I also have some people that still are out there that I'm still friends with, but we have conversations, and everybody kind of finds it. And this is one of my going phrases lately is everybody finds their own compartment in your life.
Yeah.
Whether you want somebody to jump out of that compartment, but they find their way back in no matter what. And that, in my head, that's how it works. You could be best friends with someone for years, right? And they kind of take a step back. They'll fall in a place where they need to be, especially if you don't have that same kind of goal and mindset anymore. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the past, even through trauma, man. Like those people that leave your lives in the most trial times are the ones that were not meant to be there to begin with.
Well, one of the things that I could relate to definitely is coming from a good family and like having a world of opportunity, and every single time that I had a good opportunity in front of me, because I was sick and because I was not viewing myself in the best light. Like my inner self-talk was terrible, that I usually squandered those opportunities. One of those opportunities that I'm well aware of is your baseball career.
Yeah.
I love this story, and you need to share the baseball story in Italy because it's hilarious, and I want my audience to hear it.
So I went to Italy for a little bit, and I played baseball when I was over there. And one night, me and my friends decided, because the drinking age is 16 or 18, whatever it was. I was 18, didn't matter, close to it. We all went out to drink and celebrate after one of the games, and we wake up in the hotel room. We're still all wearing our jerseys, and we wake up to a banging on the door. And we open the door, and it's the Italian Federal Police. And they're speaking at us in Italian. I have no clue what he's saying. My friend has no clue. So the cop's like, 1 second. We close the door, and then they come back, and they have a guy who speaks English. And he goes, come with us, come with us, come with us. So he's like, keep pulling us out of the room. I got to put pants on, I told him. So we put pants on, we go down, and they take us to the surveillance room. Well, come to find out that the catcher that I was playing with, we stole a little like Fiat-sized car, but an old school one, and drove it into these stairs that were a couple 100 years old outside the hotel. Got out, went inside, and have no recollection of it. And they basically asked us to leave the country then and there. That's kind of just exactly how it happens. So it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
But also, I look back at it now, and denial was a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
I never took accountability for anything. Accountability was basically near nothing for me. So
it's so crazy because, me and you both go to, our 12-step programs, and the stories that I hear and the stories that I tell and the stories that I have are almost like normal in those spaces,
Mm-hmm.
where I can share some of the wildest things, like driving through. I remember I was driving through Yorktown Heights late at night with a friend after literally robbing a gas station of like 330 packs. And the roads are slick, and we totaled the car. We have beers in the cup holders, and we all ended up back at my house. Like nothing happened. And I'm sitting there, and my mom's literally eating breakfast because it's like 6 a.m.
Walking with
and
them.
she's takes her like about 20 minutes to realize that the car's not there. And she's like, where's the car? And it's one of those situations where like anybody else hears like the stories that I have, it's like completely asinine, crazy. And, you know, like having you as my friend, you know, on this journey, particularly in recovery, like some of our conversations are so crazy because, and it's like, we don't bat an eye.
Well, and the funny part about it for me is that like you can go into whatever 12-step program, you know, you and I are both in, whichever it is, you can say these things and people do not get fazed by anything. Like the most out-of-pocket experience that somebody have going through and they just go, oh, that's it? I'm like, oh, yeah, that's it, you know? But that's one of the biggest things for me is that's why I want to get back to it and I want to be a partner of services because those same people that don't bat an eye at you, still the ones that call you and reach out to you, make sure you're okay. They're the ones that have become my family, essentially, my core network of people that I rely on that no matter what I do, will always root for me because they want to see the genuinely good out of a situation.
Dude, it's so accurate because, you know, one of the things that I've learned, and I wish I had learned it sooner, was like understanding the value of true friendships and relationships. Mm-hmm. So like jumping into that topic, like, you know, how has you just described how your relationships have evolved in recovery, but in the broader sense, when it comes to embarking on new relationships or really assessing past relationships, and I'm not talking about intimate relationships, I'm talking about anybody who you choose to, you know, let a wall down. Mm-hmm. What's your process now and how does it differ from what it used to be like?
So what it used to be like was based off of how I saw people move. I was big on like, if you have a history of being, I'm putting in civil phrases. If you were a rat, I'm not messing with you. Mm. If I didn't trust you, I wasn't messing with you. The biggest thing that I always held on to was I trust people as far as I could throw them. But even then I don't trust people. But you know, I've kind of evolved over time now where it becomes, I trust you until I can't trust you. You give me a reason not to trust you, then that's where the wall comes back up. Mm. The way I kind of assess it nowadays is that the people that are there for me in times when I need to talk about it are the ones that need to be around.
Do you think that you define people being there for you in a different way than you used to?
Absolutely, because everything was transactional back in the day.
Yep.
Or at least I don't want to say all of it. I'm still friends with people from back in the day. And I want to say 90% of the people that I knew from back in the day were transactional friends. If I could get, you know, money, time, drugs, rides, places to stay, it was that, and that's what our friendships would be. Vice versa, they would use the same for me. If we were, a lot of the people that I used to go out to the bars with, I don't talk to at all anymore.
Yeah,
because I'm not at the bar buying 20 shots for everybody anymore. So what use am I to them? So what use are they to me now?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because it's the same way. Like, you ever see, I think it was like Tyler Perry and he's expecting a speech and he's saying that, you know, people are, you know, it's like when you're going up, you're like a rocket ship and you have those boosters. And as you elevate, those boosters fall off organically. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's how I look at a lot of relationships that I had over the past 20 years, you know, where like a lot of them, were very much that party mentality, but also it was, now that I'm seeing clear, I realize how many surface level relationships I had. And one of those things was going through my phone and going back a few years and looking at what I was texting people about and going into my DMs and going into my Facebook chatter. And it was like commenting about females, or it was commenting about like in a party.
It's almost the shallowness of the conversations that you have with these people. There was no detail or meaning behind it.
And it's no fault of theirs because that's also what I was bringing to the table.
Absolutely.
You know? And now it's like people are reaching out to me because they're like, oh, like I heard you said this and that really resonated with me. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's really like the impact that I'm having that really matters more to me than just like that transactional one-time instant gratification moment that I could share with someone.
Yeah.
And it's been evolutionary. I mean, like we got my friend Beth here where like, you know, I wouldn't have someone like her who's just like coming by working on projects with me. If, you know, like our relationship was just surface level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same thing with you. Same thing with like so many valuable people that we have in our lives. And now as I see you grow into your sobriety, essentially, You know, like, how do you feel that your mindset has shifted when it comes to that like inner monologue and just like that self-worth? Because I think that's a huge part of just growth in general.
Well, I mean, I look at it two ways because I kind of compare and contrast almost in a way, because when Forkin Delicious was started, it originally started in Arizona, and that's when I was in deep addiction over there. And for me to come up with a plan like that was amazing just by itself, because I was working as an executive chef of 2 casinos at the time. So obviously I didn't have time, but it kind of faded out because I had such a good idea and it phased out, obviously. But now the inner monologue and I even started Forkin Delicious here again, back when I was in active addiction. I remember we were supposed to work on something and it didn't pan out because I just couldn't stop. I kept missing meetings, and then it kind of fell off to the side again. And then the narrative changed definitely when I got clean, because now I have time. You know, in my head, I talk about what can be done if you put your mind to it. And I have a lot more time on my mind other than just thinking about what I was trying to do before. You know, I've always been driven, but it's a different kind of drive, because the drive that I was running off of before was, where do I get to get high next? Where can I go party next? Do I have enough money to go do what I want anytime I want? And now my drive is driven off of I want to make a difference. You know, because I get to see me every day grow. I love seeing the people that are in the programs grow. I love watching, you know, people who I just talked to who are not in programs grow. Like one of our mutual friends that we have.
Yeah.
Now he's reading a Just for Today just because he likes to grow, which to me is insanely profound. You know, it doesn't mean that people have to be in active addiction to want to grow. They just got to find their way to it. You know, and that's kind of where my motto goes with this Forkin Delicious thing. Eventually, obviously, we know the goal of it. Forkin Delicious is going to turn into whatever it is, but in the long run, I want to have 2 restaurants. And on that second restaurant, I want it to be a very fast casual place, but I want it to be a rehabilitation for people coming out of jail. You know, because a lot of people are not getting second opportunities. I have a bunch of friends, I can say way more than we know, that have been in and out of jail because they can't find a way into a job because they're not giving an opportunity. And not giving that opportunity caused that same cycle, because they go right back to what they know and then they go back to jail. And, you know, a lot of them, great people. Some of them, I still consider some of my best friends. I keep everybody at a distance, obviously, but like I still keep in touch. I care. But I want people to have a second chance at life. And this all stems from this one guy that I hired when I worked in Phoenix at a steakhouse as the executive chef. I hired a dishwasher who had been locked up for about, I think it was like 38 years, the older gentleman. Rusty, we called him. Looked a little rusty, but he was a very nice guy. But he just, in the interview, all he said was, I brought up the fact, you know, his background check came back, and he looked at me and he said, "Look, I just want a chance." I was like, "All right, I'll give you a chance." He was one of the hardest working, nicest people, showed up early, left after his time, and anything you asked, he would do. All because he wanted that second chance. Those people that really want that second chance completely deserve to get that second chance. And that's why, you know, obviously I want Forkin Delicious to do what it does. And I obviously want my mainstream restaurant. We've talked about that, what I want that to do. But I want that to be the main focus of that last place. That is the way I want to give back. Because you know me, during Thanksgiving, normally, except for this past year, every year I do dinners to help the homeless. I did it every year I lived in Phoenix, actually, with my buddy Mike out there. It was nice. I love to give back. It's become part of it. And even during addiction, I still did it. But now I want to do it more because I have a better mindset of where I want it to go.
You know, it's funny because like we talk about second chances and we talk about, you know, believing in someone and kind of bringing back their spirit like you did for Rusty. Yeah, I want to kind of lean into family because I've met your family and I love your family. And, you know, for me personally, I know I put my family through a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that, you know, family is something where it's like you get second chances, third chances, fourth chances, and fifth chances because you're blood. And, you know, not everyone gets that. We came from families that, you know, loved us so much that even when we were suffering, you know, they did their best.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about the importance of your family and how those relationships have evolved.
I mean, it's crazy how different it is now. I mean, and most people,
I bet your dad.
And most people know how that was for a bit.
Yeah.
There was a period of time I don't think we talked much. But, you know, now we talk on the regular. He asked me about what recipes we want to do, he should do, or what alter.
Okay.
What kind of alter, like, recipe that
alternate.
I don't know.
What alternatives to use?
Exactly. Or we have a full blown conversation about restaurants, or, you know, when I walk in the house, people get excited to see me. Not Ben's here, you know,
Yeah.
Ah, shit, Ben's here, you know?
Yeah.
It's
like,
you know,
what?
I'm not the mess walking in anymore.
Yeah.
I come in, I mean, I'm still Ben, you know, there's still some Ben there, you know?
Yeah, dude.
My sister, I'm pretty sure, is the one that says it the most, but, you know, that's just what it is. I mean, I've got a second chance at being trusted. I have a house key. Never had a house key. I'm 35 years old now. I've never had a house key, and I got one.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's huge.
Yeah.
You know, I had the garage code. I could go in there, but that door would be locked normally. But now I have a key. And I'm allowed to go there when they're not there. So that's big in general. I mean, the biggest thing that I love that I have back with my family is trust.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know they always loved me. That never would change. But like, I think the biggest thing for me now is the trust, because the trust shows so much.
Dude, it's so funny because like that was one of the biggest things that like I felt most rewarded, especially with my dad, because, you know, I did some fucked up things, you know, along the way, you know, like the amount of money that he had invested in, you know, like rehabilitation, lawyers, all these things. And all the times that I made these promises, you know, to him. And one of the things that I really understood was like, you know, all the times I'd repeatedly tried to get sober. Right. And I remember I had this guy early on, he was like, listen, man. And it was like shortly after a DUI. And he was like, listen, you know, if right now what you're doing is consequence driven sobriety, it's not going to last. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're doing this to appease the court, if you're doing this to get a car back, if you're doing this like for your life to get good again, and that's the end result, I promise you it won't last.
Well, and you know, I've seen it time and time again, just in the 14 and a half months that I have. People come in, I'm doing this for my girlfriend. I'm doing this because court's making me here. And once that's done, we don't see them again.
I pray for those guys, but I also go up to them.
Oh, I'm there for them 100%.
And I tell them the things that were told to me multiple times that I just ignored.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because that's like a huge inspiration behind this podcast, because that same guy was like, you need to find purpose-driven sobriety.
Absolutely.
And you need, you know, and once you do that, you'll be able to share it. You'll be able to impact people positively. You'll be able to do what I'm trying to do so desperately for you.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I think about that guy every single day, you know, every single day when, you know, like, listen, at the end of the day, alcohol is everywhere, you know, like there's no way around it. Do I think about like drinking? No. Do I have dreams sometimes? Yes. But, you know, like at the end of the day, temptation is there all the time, but I think about it every single day where it's like, I have a purpose now. Yeah. And it's really like that purpose that fuels me. And like, I understand that I have the power to help others like I never, ever had before, because now, you know, I don't attribute as much negative emotion towards my story. Yeah. Have you reached that point where your story that you attribute shame and guilt and whatever emotions to, that you're free from that yet?
No.
Okay.
That's 100% true, because there's some stuff that no matter where or who I talk to about it, there's some stuff I just can't talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 2 or 3 people in my life that I've known my whole life that know certain things that nobody will ever know. And those things, obviously, I mean, neither here nor there. I mean, it's one of those things I just don't talk about, and it is. But like those I do hold a little shame and, you know, a guilt about, because if you look at it, it was some really fucked up things that I did, you know, and I hold that close to me because it made me who I am today, but it's not who I am, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like, kind of built me as a person, but it also is not who I am as a person. So nowadays, when I look at myself, I know I'm not a bad person. I may have done some really, really fucked up shit back in the day.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Like, people who have heard my story that are going to watch this know a lot about it that I just will not share on a public platform, just to be, you know. But yeah, there's a good amount of shame. But, you know, the one thing that I take out of all of this nowadays for me is that I have a platform to stand on as I am today, where I can help people. Whether it's what's ever going on in the news, or if it's somebody in the rooms, or if it's somebody just on the side of the street, you know, stepping out and helping people. That's the biggest thing. Like, for example, for my birthday, I could I talk about like fundraisers.
Talk about whatever you want.
There was something called the Trevor Project.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a fundraiser for it, and it was about transgender and LGBTQ.
LGBTQ.
Yeah, thank you.
It's okay.
Stuttered that one.
Oh, good.
Community and the prevention of suicide within it. And so I noticed that nobody had donated. So I fully donated the 200 that filled it up, but I also had an extra 600 on the side to do it because I felt like I could actually be behind a cause like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, especially, I don't touch on politics. I don't talk about politics, but it is a very sensitive time for a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
In those communities. And I feel like that it's time that somebody else does something for them, especially when you have the time or money or the platform to do it. Somebody should be doing something for the next person that needs help. And that's not just for them. That's for anybody. Like I'll do it for somebody in recovery any day.
Yeah.
I do it daily for people in recovery.
It's funny, man, because I shared this with someone where, for so much of my life, I was like a taker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So now it's like any opportunity to give. Like, I don't think I could ever give back how much I've taken in my life. That's just a fact.
100%. I'm in the same boat.
What I can do is make sure that I give, each day in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that kind of made me raise eyebrows with you is where I am a firm believer that you are as sick as your secrets. And I do, this was a debate that we had prior to recording this where I was like, dude, are you ready to put everything out there? And, I finally was like, listen, I can respect that, but, for me, that wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was really important for me to just kind of unpack my entire story and just put it out there. You're right. Do I do everything publicly on this platform? No.
Mm-hmm.
Do I sprinkle bits and pieces? Yes. But I definitely have my entire story out there, and there's someone who's heard it. God has heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's like one of the most important things for me, because if I hold secrets, then they eat me from the inside out in a sense where I'm holding it. And then I feel like shit. And then the guilt sets in. Then I should have said this, or I should have told this. Boom, boom, boom. And, the nature of my disease is it mounts and mounts and mounts and mounts until the only way for me to quiet down is to go to a bar around the corner and, order Jameson, and that's where I think it is like the complete disconnect with like when people don't really understand when I say sobriety, because it is life and death for me, and like sometimes, and I don't know if you feel the same way, and this might be like a hot take. Sometimes when people just talk about like, oh, I quit drinking, and it's like because you're like doing some fucking diet or because like you just recently got into cold plunges, I'm just like, good for you, good for you. And sometimes I do get a little offended. I'm kind of venting that because it's like it took me fucking 15 years to get sober, and you're doing it for Instagram, bro.
Yeah. And people do it for the clout. All right. So back to your lies thing. To me, any kind of lying is a slippery slope to a relapse, no matter what, because that was part of my story. I lied to everybody. The only very few people knew how bad I was, but I was very good at putting on a fake act and lying about it to certain people. Certain people just knew. I mean, let's be real. I wore it all over my face. I constantly look like shit, but, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm very happy that the sober and clean, I don't want to call it a trend because I do not like that word.
Yeah.
But I like that a lot more people our age and younger are going into these realms.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, in the first year that I was clean going to meetings, how many people did I lose? Like 11 people that I knew died from not just drugs, but like drinking and driving, drugs, overdoses, whatever it was. People that I know that I was very close with. There was one person I lived with for a while that actually passed away in the 4th month that I was clean. And that was the hardest moment I had.
Yeah.
I was already, I drove past my drug dealer's house on the way there to go to a meeting. But, I'm very happy people are finding their way because, as we call them, normies, who go out and have that one drink and go home. We're not those people. We're 0 or 100. And I actually had a conversation with someone today, which was actually kind of funny, and I kind of want to talk about it on here, was that they said that addicts are just addicts because they don't have self-control. And that really irked me I think that comes down to the fact that I don't think that people are wired that way when we're addicts or alcoholics or whatever you claim that is. It's not about self-control, because a lot of us tried that mediation stuff where we tried to, weekend warrior, 1 or 2 drink type people. We tried it until it didn't work again, and a lot of people almost died because of it. The other question I get a lot is, when do you think you'll drink again? Or can you drink again?
Yeah.
Why would that be on my mind at all?
I think it's just really hard for folks who aren't, addicts, alcoholics, to understand it. And, my thing usually is, like, if you're a diabetic, right? And someone tells you, like, if you're a diabetic, you will take Ritalin. I mean, not Ritalin, insulin. Don't take Ritalin.
Don't take Ritalin.
That might fuck you up. But, like, if you're a diabetic, you will take insulin, because that is the treatment for it,
Yes.
But, like, alcoholism and addiction is the only disease that tells you don't have it.
Oh, yeah.
And when you think about it from that perspective, it's wild. Like, like, I have a tremendous body of evidence that, proves that I'm probably an alcoholic. I've gotten arrested multiple times. I've totaled multiple cars. I've gotten multiple DUIs. I've deteriorated every single relationship. I have, drained bank accounts in the past. All of these things as a direct result of me just wanting to get fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
The symptoms of our disease is very different. Incessant lying, manipulation.
But the crazy thing is, we do it to ourselves too.
Well, we lie to ourselves the most.
Absolutely.
Because we're telling everyone that we can, like, we're fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah. We're telling everyone that we're good.
The best
Meanwhile,
was, like,
you can read it on our face. You can read it in our eyes. We're bloated.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we reek. Like I remember, like, my final stretch, bro. Like, I was working at Roy Eaton Seafood in Norwalk. And, dude, like, I would, like, start the day. This is, like, the first time I really talked about this.
What's funny is that this is when we were partying together the hardest.
This is when we were partying together the hardest. I would start a shift by going into the walking and chugging a bottle of rosé. I would chug a bottle of rosé and then start setting it up at 10 o'clock in the morning. All right. By, like, this change of shifts, I was probably 2.5 bottles of rosé deep. And, like, it was so evident, bro. And, like, the general manager there was a recovered alcoholic, and he was a little different. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he wasn't particularly, let's put it this way. Like, it got to the point where, like, I don't blame them for being like, yo, bro, like, it's over. I resented the shit out of him for a while when he sat me down, because I was like, fuck you. You're a recovered alcoholic. You should empathize with me. But at the end of the day, like, dude, like, what was I doing? It was the best thing that he ever did by firing me. He fired me. Shortly thereafter, I got in trouble. I crashed a car. And then that's when I had the pancreatitis, and the doctor was like, listen, if you can continue to live the way that you're living, like you're going to die.
Yeah.
For me, it literally took a doctor to tell me that, because prior to that, I was still invincible. I was still just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the second that my mortality was tested, I was like, that was scary.
Oh, I can imagine.
That was so scary, and, but like now that I lay that out there, that's the plight that we deal with, like waiting for it to get as miserable as possible to finally make a change, where anybody else, any of the red flags that had strung up like 10 years ago, they would have been like, all right, like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to mortgage my entire future over this. Yeah. That's the type of shit that, like, I was well on the path of doing.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of my favorite phases about everything is that your disease is constantly doing push-ups in the parking lot while you're in here getting recovery. And I always tell people, nah, he's standing right here, whispering in my ear.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he's lifting just whatever I'm lifting, but he's right there. And that's the thing, is that I need to not forget where I'm going and what I'm doing. Yeah. Once I lose track of that and going to my meetings, all fair game. You know what I mean? Let's be real. I mean, I learned, in my early recovery, I obviously made some bad decisions. I mean, I decided to test the people, places, and things all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I went to my old drug dealing neighborhoods where I sold drugs just to see what it looked like still. But like, drive down the block, I see like 8 people I know, and it's like, all right,
You say, hey, just so you know,
just so you know, I'm
fine.
clean and I'm doing great.
Yeah, and I don't have any drugs for you.
And they'd be like, yo, you want some shit? And I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know? Or one of the kids actually put a gun in my car. He was like, can you drive this down the street? I'm like, bro, I don't live here anymore.
Yeah, dude, that's wild.
Yeah, I was like, don't do that.
But it's, like, because that's also like ego. That's ego.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like, I'm good. I got to show it off to people. And, that's kind I would say past attempts at sobriety, I was like that. Like, I remember there was one time, maybe like the first time I ever got sober, I was like, I'm the man. And I can, this is kind of fucked up, but like I had this thing where it's like, I can go to strip clubs. So maybe it was like 24, first time, I had like 3-4 months. I was like, I can go to strip clubs and drink cranberry juice, because my boys were going to strip clubs at the time, and it was crazy. And dude, 4 months in, I'm like, drinking vodka cranberries, like not even, like, but it's like that invincibility. It's like, the only thing I can't do is, you do actually have to modify your mindset. You have to modify your lifestyle. You got to modify the places you frequent.
There's certain people you just can't be around.
Dude, hell yeah.
I love
certain environments you probably shouldn't be around.
Some people that I love to death, I just know I can't be around. We'll talk on the phone.
Yeah.
I won't see you.
yeah.
I just know how it's going to go. You know, I don't trust it. I mean, places are a big thing for me too. Arizona, I don't think I ever could go back to Phoenix, Arizona. I'll be honest.
It's funny, dude, because like this last May, I went to Miami for my birthday. Mm-hmm. And I remember Miami as Miami. Like drinking all day by the pool, getting dressed up, going out like 10:30, going to like a club or a bar or whatever. And it was so funny because this time it was like such a different, more refreshing view of Miami. Like I got my boy at Equinox to hit me up and like get me into the Equinox on South Beach. I was waking up at 5 a.m. I was working out. I actually made the breakfast like in the morning. Like I sat by the beach. And it was actually what it was supposed to be, relaxing.
Yeah. Well, because I remember when you went to Miami, you came back. You're like, I want to move there. I'm like, I think that's a good idea. You go, probably not, but I love it there. But at the same time, you had a different attitude about it.
It was a whole different perspective.
And the going to the breakfast thing just made me laugh really hard because I remember how many times I would go to hotels and I'd be like, oh, I'm so excited. I get this hotel. There's a free breakfast.
Yeah.
I may be up for breakfast, but I ain't going to be eating it. I know it's happening, but I'm not going to see people. I'll never forget. I went in, and this is a quick little war story, and then we'll go back to regular life.
Yeah.
I went on a trip with a couple of my buddies. We all lived in downtown Phoenix. Not even 20 minutes away from this hotel. We all decided that we were going to go only 20 minutes away in case something happens. That's a first tell that we shouldn't have gone on this trip. Second tell, after a couple of days of, heavy drinking, partying, whatever we were doing, that we realized by the 4th day that there's a breakfast we could have been going to. Well, me and one of my buddies, we had been up all night and we were at that awkward, like, I call it the owl stage where your eyes are just really wide and you don't know how to talk anymore at that point. So he's like, well, let's go get breakfast. I'm like, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. So we end up going down to the breakfast, and all these people are normal. Yep. Normal people at a hotel getting breakfast. This kid is shredded. So lost. He doesn't know what to do, so he grabs a banana and goes, I need to get out of here. So we go up, and all we have is a tray of just bacon and 1 banana for 4 people. And he literally looks at it and goes, I don't even want this. I don't know why I went down there. I was like, you made me go. Mm-hmm. But like, that was one of the things. It's like, I remember the mornings. The mornings were the worst because I always saw the people jogging, and I'd be like,
oh my God, why? How do you have that in you?
Or the birds chirping. I'd be like, oh, that bird's an asshole.
Dude, dude, it's so funny, bro, because like I remember like there was that period in time where my friends and I would just like, we'd call it getting a telly. We just get it.
Yeah, just go
to the telly every time.
You want something different.
Dude, and we would get these hotel rooms. We would party all night. And then like the blackout curtains, bro. Like the blackout